What's up, everyone? Welcome to Coffee with Ola. Today with Rick Beato.
Ola,
Pleasure to have you here.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling Stockholm right now? Is your first time in Sweden?
First time in Sweden. I love it here.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about why you went to Sweden? I watched the live stream, but can you tell the viewers?
I have always wanted to come to Sweden. I do these live shows occasionally. This will be my 6th one. I'm playing here in Stockholm, and my agent Larry, who's an old friend of mine, he's like, "Do you want to do any shows this summer?" I said, "Yeah, I want to go to Stockholm." Why Stockholm? I said, because I've never been to Sweden. I want to go there. There's all the music there that I love, and I just want to one time go there and stuff. So I got my wife and kids and came over for been here for a week or so and love it here.
Awesome. You also went in a very good time because the rest of the year it's like gray, it's shitty and absolutely terrible.
I mean, it's so beautiful right now.
Right.
It's amazing, the temperature, everything. It's a nice reprieve from hot Atlanta this time of year.
This time of year is when people and musicians in Sweden don't write music. So it's the rest of the year when everything's just really gloomy and dark that we sit and write music.
Well, I wondered about that. So what, in the winter time, now if it's December, is there snow? Is it snowing every day?
No, it could be gray shit on the ground or snow.
Okay.
But the thing that gets us is probably the amount of sun.
Okay.
Or the lack of sun, probably.
Okay.
The sun goes up at like 9 a.m. and maybe sets at 3
Okay.
p.m. So very short days, and most people, they work, they're in an office probably from 8 to 5, so they never get to see the sun, which is terrible.
When does this start to turn around? I notice people are out all the time. The few people that are in town, because it's a vacation time now.
Well, April, May, when the sun is back and people, some kind of heat, people are back and, start taking the sweaters off and blossom. It happens every year a little bit in Sweden. People blossom a lot.
Is this why there's such a great music tradition here, though? Because I wanted to discover that. Why has so much great music come out of Sweden? Is the climate and the lack of sun in the wintertime when people stay in and write this great music?
Well, I think it's also because, now you're interviewing me, but I think it's also for a reason that the government in Sweden has always been, very active with after-school activities. And, when I was a kid, I would go, after school, I would go to what do you call it? After-school activity place where they have instruments and sometimes even studios, rehearsal places so. From a very young age, it was very easy to start playing something, and they did this studio circles, they call it. They did this already like in the late '60s, '70s, and that's why we got so many Yngwie Malmsteen and all the incredible John Norum of Europe and all these incredible guitar players from one area outside Stockholm.
Yeah.
Because they just did it right over there. So I think that's a big part of it, and also the lack of sun probably in the winter, and you can't really do anything. So you have to sit in, write some music.
Well, I'm from upstate New York, from Rochester, and the winters are really long.
Yeah.
It's always cloudy there, even in the summertime. It's beautiful in the summertime, but people stay in all winter.
Right.
And that's why I learned to play the guitar and play instruments, is for the exact same reason. So my theory is that places that have bad weather have great music.
Yes, that's right.
So I'm testing that, although I'm coming when it's beautifully sunny every day here.
Right. Let us talk about your YouTube channel. You're probably one of the bigger music-related YouTube channels right now. And obviously, I don't think anyone has missed your videos with your son Dylan and about perfect pitch, but obviously also your interviews and your what makes the song great. But also something that really hits close to home for me is that you're doing a lot of videos on the music industry and the music business and the importance of or non-importance of labels nowadays, and it's for me incredibly giving that you're talking a lot about this. This is something I talk about a lot as well. I'm trying to represent the smaller artists and the up and coming artists, and trying to give advice to to my friends that are watching my channel and also want to start a band or release an album, release singles, because it's never been as easy to record yourself and do all of that. And so I must I want to thank you for a lot of that. Sometimes it feels like I'm doing it myself, and I did it very early, but sometimes it's good to have someone that's just reaffirming everything you say. And that's just something I really appreciate. And but I figured we would maybe, if it's okay with you, talk a little bit about the perfect pitch.
Okay.
I watched a fair bit of videos. Your son Dylan has perfect pitch, and you've demonstrated this in viral videos, and it's amazing to see those videos. And I remember seeing them that's incredible. Why can't I have that? And then I watched the video, why I can't have that? And it's I have a little questions. Why can't I have perfect pitch?
Well, I think this is just my theory that perfect pitch is developed when kids or babies are learning language in the first 9 months of life.
Yes.
When they're in the first 9 months of life, babies are can hear the phonemes of all languages spoken on Earth. There's 2,200 phonemes. These are parts that make up syllables.
Yes.
Out of the 6,500 languages that are spoken, and they can recognize those up until about 9 months or so, and then they become culturally bound listeners, is a term that this linguistics expert Patricia Kuhl does some fantastic videos that I've watched on YouTube, because I thought a lot about this. Why is this? And so my theory is that they learn it as if it's a native language, except it's native music fluency. Mm-hmm. So I mean, why can everyone speak English here in Sweden?
Right.
So, because you've been doing it since you were kids, probably, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So I think it has something to do with that. And there's a higher incidence of people that speak tonal languages, Mandarin, for example, that have a 30% higher incidence of perfect pitch.
Okay.
Because the tones are important to the language.
Right. If I would like to learn Mandarin, and and feel that maybe I can work on my these phonemes.
Yep.
Yes. I was about to say something else. No, but there's basically no way of me learning this. This is something babies forget then, or do they just?
Yeah, babies forget.
Yes,
I mean, this is my theory.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if we can test that, but it's funny because my kids all went to a language immersion school and learned Mandarin.
Okay.
This was just a random thing. They
had to pick something.
And my youngest daughter, Layla, who's 10, she's still in this Mandarin school, and every other day is all in Mandarin.
Oh wow.
And it's very difficult for me to say these words that they say, and I think I'm pronouncing them exactly like they are, but they just laugh at me. My daughters will laugh at me, and I was like, "No, I'm saying it right. No, you're not even close." I just can't hear those things. So I think it's related to that.
Yeah. So what you said in the video was that in this first age of 1 to 2 years old, that you should challenge the baby with unpredictable music. So I guess jazz is a very unpredictable type of music.
Yeah, Alan Holdsworth,
exactly. But my question is, I play a lot of death metal for my kids.
Okay.
Do you think that's unpredictable enough?
It could be. It depends, It can be rhythmically, if it's if you're playing Meshuggah, whatever you're playing that's rhythmically, a lot of progressive metal has, I think that it's not just pitches, I think that playing things that are in odd time signatures or that have a lot of chromaticism in it is really really important.
To keep the mind open? Or?
Yeah, anything that's unpredictable for the babies.
Right.
I think that's an important thing.
Wow. So another question I have in regards to that, because I've watched a fair bit of your videos, the making of Pantera, for instance. You're talking about the song Walk, and this thing about perfect pitch. Obviously, you also talk about Beethoven having perfect pitch, and a lot of Mozart and everyone. Beethoven was deaf, but he wrote music still. I mean, you have to have something in your head to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But is it tied to a specific tuning then, 440?
It's interesting because I know a bunch of people with perfect pitch that I've met over the years, and I had 2 assistants in the past that had perfect pitch, 2 different people in a row.
Okay.
One of them, if something was out of tune, it literally made them sick. The other one,
Out of tune of 440.
out of tune of 440, it made them, it really made them
Feel unease.
Unease. And the other one, it didn't bother at all. With Dylan, it does not bother him at all. If I have this pump organ in my studio, and you pedal it and play notes, and it's a quarter step sharp. So if I play an A, and when Dylan was, he won't ever answer anything anymore about that. But I was like, "What note is this, Dylan?" It's A, B flat.
Yeah.
That's it. I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, it's part of both."
Yeah.
He just hears it like that. It's not.
Because why I mentioned Pantera is that they tune to 425 hertz. Did you have a problem with, like, when you were not analyzing that song, that you maybe, like?
There's a lot of tunes that I've analyzed that are not in pitch. Black Hole Sun is about 450 something. I mean, it's almost a quarter step. It's pretty much a quarter step sharp. Obviously, Van Halen. A lot of Van Halen songs are out of pitch. A lot. I mean, honestly, a lot of the songs that I do are not in standard 440.
And also a lot of the old tapes were kind of swaying a little bit, so they were always kind of out of tune a little bit.
Yeah. The pitch thing is for videos is, I have to spend time getting the stuff in tune, and it's a pain to do that. I still haven't found a good system for that. I want to have a tune. I mean, you can tune things now on your phone or whatever. You can get a tuner, but it's difficult to find the right tuning.
Yeah, like when I learned guitar, like mid-90s, started playing guitar, and started listening because of Nirvana.
Yep.
You talk a lot about Nirvana and then Pantera and Dream Theater and all these death metal bands and all that. And back then, I mean, this was when internet started, but there weren't any information on how to play these songs. What do you do? Well, you listen to the album and you start like tabbing, or you start just analyzing and playing after the track.
Yeah.
So with that said, now, are we losing, since all of this information is so available for everyone and all the kids out there, which is great. Like, if you want to learn a song today, it's so easy, right? Are we deleting a little bit of this ear training of perfect pitch because of this?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've never thought about people that have, that I know, younger musicians that I know. I've thought about this topic a lot, if people's ears, because everything is so available. It's not just, they go on YouTube and they see the actual person that play the riffs, and it's tabbed out a million other places.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can actually see where somebody played the stuff is got to affect kids' ears. I think a lot of people's style came from trying to figure out things and getting it wrong.
Right.
And that's a really important thing that I think
because people had no idea how to tap or how to do this pinch harmonics. Or
when I interviewed Nuno Betancourt and we were talking about hearing Eruption for the first time, and it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
We had no idea.
Right.
Just no idea. Like, what is that? And the fact that you just couldn't look it up nowadays, it's like, oh, I know what that is. There's a million people that know what that is. But to hear it on a record, it just blew my mind. Yeah. I like that topic, though.
That is a good topic. No, it's not only because I feel as a YouTuber, I'm not going to say that you're old, but I feel older too. Like compared to a lot of Instagram guitar players, for instance.
Sure.
I'm still a guitar player, and I'm on Instagram. I still, try and play Dream Theater solos and all that. And I feel that, a lot of these kids are amazing guitar players.
Yeah.
And incredible skill, and incredibly fast. And it puts me at unease sometimes. I'm okay with it now, and I'm older. I don't really care that much. I'm a little too old to have gone through the time where I could just look up a tab online. So I'm still kind of stuck that I have to listen to the old albums to learn the songs.
Right.
And it's also it triggers something in me that I think is good for me, and it's good for my songwriting, and it's good for my lead writing. I'm not locked into the tabs in a little bit, because you talk a lot about theory, and obviously you've gone through school and you learned classical music and all of that. You've been conducting orchestras and stuff like that. I have absolutely no theory in me. Like, except for the different modes of a major scale and, you know, pentatonic scale, because I think that sometimes that limits me a little bit. How do where do I go with this? Like, how do I go to the next level with this, or do I have to?
I don't know if you have to. It depends on what you want to do.
Exactly.
You know, I learned things on my own first, and then I learned what the theory was later, because I went to school for music.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what things were called until people told me what they were called. I just kind of made up my own ideas of. I didn't know what modes were, but I knew what the major scale was and all the different positions. And they're like, oh, that's called Dorian here if you play off the second note. Oh, really? Wow, that's cool. I like the sound of that, or you know, whatever it is. And I learned. I remember I had a friend that showed me the 5 positions of the pentatonic scale up the neck. I didn't know which one was the root or anything like that, but I knew how the positions connected.
Yeah.
So, and then knowing it didn't necessarily make me any better or worse.
Yeah.
But you can communicate about music to people. That's the one.
Yes.
That's the one good thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that people, you know, with Dylan, people think that I played him notes and told him this or that. I realized Dylan had perfect pitch when he was 3, just from him singing along to things, and they were in the right key. And then all of a sudden, it was like, I wonder if he has perfect pitch.
Yeah.
Then I played him this note B flat, and he's like, oh, it's Star Wars, because it starts on a big B flat major chord. It's like, wow. And then I just taught him the names of the things. Then if I told him, hey, anytime you hear C, E, and G, it's C major. Okay, fine. And then I just had to tell him one time, and that was it. I just taught him
the names for the Star Wars and for the
I just taught him. I taught him the names of the 12 notes, and he already knew the sound of them. So he was like, it's like, oh, this is red, this is green, but he doesn't think in colors, but he knows exactly what these things are instantly.
Right, because that's also something you say, is that when you have perfect pitch, you basically see it as colors almost. So it's, or as natural as seeing a color, for instance.
Yes.
It's just immediate
Immediate recognition, yeah.
And that you also got a lot of people trying to convince that it's still possible to learn perfect pitch today as an adult.
Yeah.
Because that was also the thing about your videos, that a lot of people were like, no,
people get mad at me about that. But the fact of the matter is, relative pitch is faster than perfect pitch if you're really good at relative pitch.
So relative pitch is that someone listens and analyzes and then yes, okay.
Yeah. And most of the greatest musicians in the world have great relative pitch.
Yes.
They don't have perfect pitch. Perfect pitch is actually unusual.
Yeah.
So it's not anything that's needed, and but it's just a fascinating phenomenon, I think.
Yeah.
Like, why do some people have that and other people don't? But I never noticed that Van Halen. I noticed when I was figuring out Van Halen tunes or Jimi Hendrix tunes or Beatles tunes. I mean, everything was out of tune. I was growing up. And you had a record player that wasn't playing at the right pitch either, right speed. So it's like you're always tuning your guitar to whatever the thing is. And I think that was a great thing.
Yeah.
It's great for your ear.
So could you tell the audience a little bit about your past, like what, in a quick manner? Obviously you've done so much, and like from school to bands, and you're producing, and like you said, early 2000s, and you've been producing bands and nu metal bands, and just a quick little roundup of your past, basically.
Yeah. So I graduated from high school in 1980. I went to college. I went one semester as a history major, then I went into music. I was like, I don't want to do history. And I got an undergrad in classical bass and a master's in jazz guitar. And then I got out of college and I got a college teaching gig for 5 years where I taught jazz studies. And after about 5 years, I was like, okay, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I started playing in bands and writing songs, and I got a publishing deal with Polygram Publishing in 1992. And then I moved to Atlanta in 94. And then I taught guitar lessons at a music store from 94 to 99. I taught 12,000 guitar lessons.
Wow.
And all I did was teach songs of all the current bands. I would teach anything anybody wanted to learn, teach entire records. I think the reason that my YouTube channel is done well is because of those 12,000 lessons, teaching every song off every record imaginable, from metal records, rock records, grunge records,
Yeah.
you know, pop records, whatever, R&B, and I started playing in a band, got signed, but that got signed, made a record, label got bought out, got dropped, and in the meantime I started producing, and which was in probably 97 or so, 98, and I felt like I love that more than being in a band.
Yes.
I felt like a natural, you know, I just loved making recordings, making albums, and I did that really up until I started my channel in 2016.
Okay.
And produced, like I said, mainly metal bands, but all different types of music really, but I would say mostly metal bands. And people are like, why do you have so many 100-watt heads? You think it's like, yeah, I produce metal bands all the time. You know.
That's cool. It's funny that you say that because my career is a little bit similar in the same that I had a band playing and we had a record label. Everything's fine and dandy, and the record label filed for bankruptcy like 2 weeks after the release of the album. And this was later though. This was in 2007, but that really sparked something in me. I've been grinding like all these years playing guitar. You know, you want to make it as a band. You know, all these record labels, like demos here and there. You know, listen to my shit, man, and going playing live all over the place. And you know, this hunger I had to you know, I want to be a musician.
Yeah,
like that's what I want to do it for the rest of my life. And that whole thing where that record label was gone, and you know, that was basically it for the band. And you know, I just felt a big. You know, I just felt that everyone sucks at that point. The label sucks, and you know, my bandmates, they don't do as much as me, and you know, it's like if everyone would have worked as much, maybe we could have gone somewhere. But it felt like I was doing it. I wanted so much more than everyone else, and I started on this venture of becoming a producer because obviously, like, okay, fuck you, I'm gonna produce myself, you know, and I'm gonna record myself because I mean, then I only have myself to blame. And I don't have to trust people that it's a very narcissistic worldview, but you know, I was just really tired of working with musicians, and I had a studio, like I told you, in Stockholm. I just couldn't record bands there because they were terrible, and you know, they didn't want what I wanted, so I could never make it as a producer. But it's but at the same, you know, that's also how I started my YouTube channel. You know, I started recording myself and, you know, trying to understand myself. I've always been recording myself since, you know, Cakewalk, and I had a Fostex, you know, recorder back
X15,
in something like that during the 90s.
Yeah,
that sounded like ass, but you know, and I started with. So I've always been recording myself, and I just felt like, okay, now it's time to move on and become the self-sustained musician. So I don't have to deal with other people. And that's something that you are talking a lot about on your channel, which is the part about the labels not really being needed today, and how you can do much of it all yourself. So, question to you. If I have a lot in my audience that are watching this right now that have aspirations of releasing something, because I think that for a lot of people it's a goal for a lot of people just to release something. You know, they have music in them, they can record, and they can use, you know, Superior Drummer, and they can even use Easy Bass if you don't have a bass player, or you know, people that just wanted to get an outlet and want to be heard. What should they do today to get heard?
They should do what we're doing. Essentially make videos, get on social media and post their music, and develop an audience that way. I think that there's never been an easier time than now to do that. You have worldwide distribution through YouTube, through Instagram, through TikTok, through any of the social media platforms, Facebook, and instant worldwide distribution. And if your music is good and it connects with people, you can be successful. And you don't have to depend on anyone else. You can write as many songs and put them out there as you want.
No one's dictating.
No one's
if
dictating
it's bad
anything.
Or not.
That's right. The audience has the vote then, and will vote with their eyes and their ears, with their attention.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's an amazing, amazing time to be a musician right now. The best time ever.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about some A&R person and playing a good showcase here or there, whatever, all the ridiculous stuff that everybody used to do. And I just, if I was a musician now, wait, I am a musician nowadays. If I was trying to make it with my own music now, I would be doing basically exactly what I'm doing, but I would actually have it focused on my own music.
Right. So even though you say that it's a very good time right now, what do you do about the saturation? How do you get out to, there's a lot of music being released on Spotify today. The thing why I'm asking is because I talked about this, I had clinics and workshops a long time ago. I talked a lot about this, and it felt very easy then. But now it's, a lot of people are doing this, and it's very saturated. And how does one reach out today, man? Even if you have like incredible music, I feel like maybe I'm not saying I have, but like people with incredible music.
It's difficult to be. It's difficult to be found.
Yeah.
There was a YouTube video I watched years ago. There's a channel called Veritasium. It's a science channel, but he talked about YouTube, the amount of YouTube just as a platform, and this goes for every platform. The people that are the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of an iceberg, essentially. You're pretty much ignorant to everything that's on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you think about how many videos are uploaded just to YouTube every day, and you're talking about Spotify, all the songs, how do you get noticed? Well, in the old days, the gatekeepers were the major labels.
Yep.
The gatekeepers were the radio station DJs or the program directors that could decide at big stations, K-Rock in LA, for example. If you got played on K-Rock and you weren't signed, you were a rock band, you get a record deal, or you could have a successful record. The gatekeepers now are the audience, right?
Which is a lot better.
Right. So if your songs connect with people, you can we could write a song right now and put it out if no one knew who we were, and it could get a million plays on TikTok if it was the right song in one day. Because people ask me, should I put out an EP? Should I put out single songs? Should I put out a full record? I always say you put out a full record. Okay. Because it's something you can tour behind. And I think a mistake that a lot of guitar players, let's just talk about guitar players. When I think about my friends that are in the progressive metal community, like Tosin and Pliny and these guys that are Tim Henson with Polyphia, they are making albums and then going out and touring behind the albums that they make.
Right.
That is still the same as it's always been. I think actually making full-length albums and touring behind them is the way to do it. And then find people that are like-minded and just band together and do that. All those guys are friends with each other and they tour together, and it's amazing. I just saw Dream Theater with Animals opening and Devin Townsend opening, and it was a great bill. 3 bands working that they're all friends. It's really a great thing.
The community.
Yes, find a community. But there's kind of 2 different questions. Like I thought at first you're going to say, what if something's not the right time? There's a great Swedish band, Refused, and they did their record "A Shape of Punk to Come" in 1998, which was way ahead of its time, and people that were in the hardcore community did not like that record. Yet in retrospect, when I heard that record, I thought, this is unbelievable. It was such it was so ahead of its time that people that liked them didn't get it.
Right.
And that's kind of a different thing. What do you do with a record like that? That kind of doesn't hit their audience. When artists try to change their style too much, that's always another. It's like YouTubers. You try and do something new. My YouTuber friends, hey, I tried a video on something else that's like, and it didn't work. It bombed. Just like, well, make more of them. That's what I always say. Yeah. You got to make more of them because it's a different audience that will be into them. Yeah. So if you were to do country songs or something, Ola,
that would probably be good.
I would definitely be into that.
That's awesome. So, what does a typical day of Rick Beato look like today? I mean, you were producing before. Do you do any producing still?
I don't do any producing.
You like full-time YouTube now?
Yeah. My typical day, I get up at 6 o'clock, 6:30 or so. when my kids are in school, my wife and I make, breakfast and lunch for the kids, and then I drive one of the kids to school, and she'll drive the other ones to school. And I come home, and I usually start working at about probably 9 o'clock in the morning or so. And then I work till midnight, and that's like every day. No, just kidding.
Now you said you're not upload since you're on tour, you don't upload that much, but before you're uploading like 3 or 4 videos every week.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of content. Like,
Yeah.
how do you sit and come up with all this content? You seem to have a lot of knowledge and a lot to tell. Like, does it come easy, or like does it feel like you really have to plan ahead for videos? Because when you speak about something, it's like you always wanted to tell it. And you're such a good storyteller in that sense that it seems like every video, it's like, okay, it's the next step, like it's the next story. And it's like you have all of this planned in a way. But is it more like, oh, let's speak about this today, or like, what I feel like talk about this, or, I mean.
Well, I have a lot of interests in a lot of different genres of music,
Yes.
and I play multiple instruments, which is good, because I don't even think of myself as a guitar channel. I don't think anybody thinks of my channel as a guitar channel. I play guitar on Instagram pretty much, and I play guitar for my videos occasionally when it needs it, or I'll play bass, or I'll play keyboards or drums, whatever. But I usually, when I sit and drink my coffee in the morning, I think of, oh, what should I make a video about today? And then I'll have something that I've been thinking about the last couple days, and I'll just make it about that.
Okay.
So
you just turn on the camera and like.
Yeah, turn
okay.
on the camera and I make the video.
That's impressive. I like that.
Yeah, so I usually make a video in a couple hours or so, and
You edit it yourself?
Yeah.
And, okay.
I typically edit it myself.
Do you upload the same day, or?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, always.
oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you don't plan ahead or
Never.
do anything like that? Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I have people that I'll call. Like, I'll call my younger brother John, who's a really
Okay.
good guitar player. I'll be like, hey, I'm thinking of making a video on this. What do you think? And he'll give me his opinion on it or something. And or I'll call another one of my friends and I'll ask him, what do you think about this? And I think it's a good idea. Oh, that's a terrible idea. My brother John will say, oh, that's a terrible idea. Nobody would watch that. It's like, well, I'm making it anyways.
So you have a filter that you don't listen to, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I make videos only on things I'm interested in,
Right.
but it changes. I made this video on a John Dowland song. He's a Renaissance composer, but this piece called the Earl of Essex Galliard. And it's a thing that I borrowed a record from the library in high school in the mid-'70s, and Julian Bream classical guitar record, but it was a lute record, Dances of Dowland. This is the first track on it. And I always loved it. I remembered it. And then when Dylan was a baby, I found a video of Julian Bream playing it online, and my wife hated it. Anytime I played it, she hated it. And I always thought, she's like, what is that? Horrible music. I was like, what are you talking about? This is John Dowland. This is amazing. And she rolled her eyes. And that just popped into my head one day, a year and a half ago or so, so I make this video about this. And Sting had recorded a version of this and stuff. So I finished the video and I said, guess what I made a video on? And I played the thing, and she's like, oh, not that song. She's like, nobody will watch that. I was like, well, you might be right, but video did incredibly well and stuff. But it just was something. Usually it's funny things like that that
Well, because it's you. You know,
Right.
it's not necessarily about the music you're doing. It's because people like you. Like the part about the storytelling, it's really storytelling, and you're doing that so well, and it really captivates one. Like the Beethoven videos that you did. I mean, they're amazing. Like the way you're telling the story about his letter and all that, and it's like it's really. I can't believe it's free to watch. Isn't it insane how things are? All this knowledge, that's for free.
That's what I love about YouTube.
Yeah.
I think I think that part of it is incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that there's something like this that exists. I never could have imagined this. So I thought when I was taking they had these typing classes on manual typewriters when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll never need to learn how to type, so I didn't take the class. It's like all I do is sit at a keyboard now half the time, but it's I never could have imagined that there'd be this thing that you can make videos and edit them yourself. If I didn't have the production knowledge for editing audio, though, I never could have done this.
Yeah.
So that was very handy.
Yeah, like you're speaking to so many people with those type of videos, and like you said, you're like through so many different genres, and you know, you did the Pantera and Slipknot. Like a lot of my viewers are metal oriented. It's very niche.
Yes.
But even seeing, I think a lot of people like to watch you talk good about their songs. And you know, you listen to Pantera and you soloed the tracks and the drums and the bass and all that. But I almost cried when you soloed the guitar solo, and like immediately when I saw it, it's like it hurt.
Yes.
And that type of emotion, I mean, you're doing it on all those different genres and different songs, and it's just so. I'm envious with the format you have, because it's just so. It's such a great community.
Well, that really speaks to the production, my producing, and I love breaking down songs.
Yeah.
And that's a passion of mine. That was a passion of mine before I even started on YouTube a long time ago.
Yeah.
I would always try to mimic guitar tones, drum tones, all that
Right.
stuff. I'm just obsessed with that. I love it. Bass sounds.
Yeah.
I love getting sound. I love the process of recording. I love mixing. So when people get great tones and things are really well produced, it's awesome.
What's your favorite metal amplifier that you like to record?
My favorite metal amplifier, I'm trying to think of what,
What's a go-to metal amplifier for you?
Well, I have a 2006 EVH that pretty much always sounds great.
Yeah.
But I like to blend in things like so one of my recent amps I acquired is a 1979 Orange Overdrive 2, which there's very few of.
Yeah.
Which is more of a doom metal.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more fuzzy.
More fuzzy, yeah. And I love those tones. I love amps that can get kind of like what I call a buzzsaw tone. That's more of a square wavy tone that to me is so metal and heavy. But I have so many different. I have so many modded JSAM 800s. Okay. I have so many modded Marshalls that I have Mesas. I've got, the Mark 7 that I got has a great. I love the Mesa, the 2C. I have a 2-channel dual rectifier that's a killer metal amp that's modded. A lot of my amps are modded too. Okay. So.
Is it usually modded for tighter low end, or
it's modded for tighter low end? Sometimes my Mesa, my dual rectifier, is modded for tighter low end and a little bit less fizziness on the top end.
Right.
But I have 20 412 cabs in my studio, and the cab head combination is so important.
Absolutely.
Not just and then of course the miking and the mic pre's and everything. So it's amazing though if you put the my Mark 7 through a Marshall 100-watt cabinet, and it just doesn't sound right. And then I put it through my Mesa cabinet. It's like, oh, that's like what?
Yep.
And some of it's the ohmage of the cabinets, and even that has the Mesas are typically 8 ohms.
Yeah.
Even though my dual rectifier had it modded to have a 16 ohm output as well, so that I could use it with my videos, and it's easier to use it with different cabinets and stuff. So.
But that's what's awesome, because then that makes the options endless.
That does. But like my 6505 Plus is a killer PV amp, which is basically the old 5150. I have so many, I think, great metal amps that I like to use. So
staying on the same topic, like what is a common guitar microphone that you use for this then?
So I typically will use 2 microphones. I like to use a 57 and a 421, but on different speakers.
Yep.
And I usually use a 57 on the halfway between the dust cover and the cone, and then the 421 will be in between. I usually go straight on with them, but a lot of times I'll use. Sometimes I use a condenser mic with it, like a 414, but an older 414 that's not as fizzy, like a BULS, or I'll use a Royer 122V valve mic, but sometimes that's a little too gooey sounding, so I'll use maybe a Royer 121 in combination with it. Those I like to put on one stand next to the same speaker, and I'll usually put the 57 on the inside and the Royer on the outside. I'm so this stuff, and I know what cabinets, which speakers sound good on, which are the good combinations. But so I've tried it. I've tried it all pretty much.
Why aren't you releasing impulse response libraries?
I thought about it actually. I thought about it, and maybe I will.
What's your favorite metal band, by the way, if you have one?
Well, probably Black Sabbath. But somebody got mad at me when I talked about Metallica recently being the most important metal band, and Metallica's pretty important metal band.
Well, that's the truth.
Right. I mean, people got mad in the comments when I said that.
Well, if you said the opposite, people would get mad too.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you can never please.
No.
You can never please everybody.
No.
People get mad because I'll do a top 10 Metallica riffs, countdown, and
you get them in the wrong order.
I get them in the wrong order. They freak out. It's very funny though. I laugh at that stuff. I think it's like, I love that people are so invested in these things.
They're passionate.
They are.
So you have to see that as well. When I see an angry comment, it's just okay, either it's a moron, you see it pretty quick if it's a moron, or you see if someone's really passionate about their band.
Yes.
So there's a big difference between, they're not only trolls out there,
Right.
or morons. There's actually people that care and gatekeep a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear from another YouTuber because we are experiencing the same type of comments and the same type of audience.
One of the things that I love is this thing about the progressive metal community, and that a lot of the guys like jazz, and whether it's Tosin or Aaron Marshall from Intervals, or a lot of these guys, they are really open-minded to a lot of music, and I found that a lot of the people that I produced, the new metal guys, didn't care about stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were really just into, and maybe it's because it's instrumental music for the most part, that is that why they're more open-minded, because they're open-minded to odd meters and
challenging or unpredictable parts.
Unpredictable parts, yeah. And I love extended range, the thinking of that,
Yeah.
of extended range instruments and I love new technology and things like that. And that's a beautiful thing. We live in the age of impulse responses and modelers and real, and cabinets that you can, analog recording. And there's so many things that are made that I wished when I was a producer that, with the 500 series mic pre's and things like that, and just everything, all the microphones that are available now that people can get. Yeah. It's the golden age of recording right now.
It really is.
I made a video a couple years ago about miking techniques for drums. Yeah. And not a lot of people watch it and everything. And I said to my brother John, I was like, why how come people don't care about this? He's like, who's got a drum set that they can mic up?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
They're using Easy Drummer. They're using Superior drums and everything. I was like, yeah, I guess that's true. It's like, okay, well, I made the video for me anyway, so,
You do the show here in Stockholm on Saturday. What is a typical show with you? How's it built up?
So part of it is, I'll come out and talk to the audience and things. There'll be a part where I do Q&A with the audience. I'll do a song breakdown, play some guitar. They're kind of all different based on
vibe.
On the vibe, and if it's a place that I haven't been to, and I'll usually tell a story of something that happened. I'll start out with a story of something that happened during the week that I was, in the week here. There's some funny things that have happened. Right. It's usually my kids making fun of me.
Okay.
So but the song breakdown part and the Q&A is my favorite part of the show.
Do you do different songs, or do people suggest, or like?
I'll do different songs depending on where I am and what I'm,
So maybe ABBA here in Sweden?
Could be. Or
I'm thinking Ace of Base. Any Max Martin song, maybe.
Could be.
I'm just guessing.
I don't want to give anything away.
This will be uploaded afterwards.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Rick, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ola. Pleasure.
Pure pleasure. Hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here in Sweden.
Thank you.
And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Same. I want you to come to Atlanta.
Oh.
Anytime you're in the States, come. We'll make a video together in my studio.
I would love that. Also, I want to say personally, thank you for everything you do to the community. It's like we need more people like you on YouTube.
Appreciate it.
It's pushing a lot of positivity in a world where it's not being pushed that much. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye, everyone. And I really made it thing like, okay, I'm gonna future-proof my channel.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have
sound like me.
I'm gonna be the only guy with 4K videos for probably 6 years.
Yeah.
And now everyone's doing it. But also that also means that all those videos are made for newer TVs.
So I met Marty Schwartz. You know
Yes.
who Marty is, right? So I met Marty, and he's like, "You should do 4K videos." And I said, "What? I don't even know what that is." And so a few months go by, and then I talked to Adam Neely, and I said, "Do you do 4K videos?" He, "Oh yeah, I've been doing them for a while." I was like, he goes, "You don't do it?" I said, "No." He goes, I said, "I'm going to try it." Mm-hmm. My first 4K video is the biggest video on my channel. It's got 18, 19 million views. And I thought, oh my God, this is what happened. And of course, then it just happened to be that. But it was just pure luck, right? I'm thinking, why didn't I listen to them before? This is insane.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, technology. I always like the technology aspect. And the same with the guitar and the gear, and that's why I have my channel. It's the guitar gear and how to chug and
Love it. Love it.